This is an absolute nightmare as the Milwaukee Brewers officially got swept on the road against the San Diego Padres and, of course, had to lose the last game of the series, getting walked off in extra innings, and now have to travel to Los Angeles to take on the Dodgers in a 4-game series. It is a very rough stretch for Milwaukee Brewers baseball, and I'm going to break all that down and more on today's episode of Brewers Digest. I welcome you in, and man, oh man, this is very, very rough. Really didn't feel like it could get any worse after the second game of the series, and then I don't know if losing 4-3 in extras is worse than losing 11-2, how they did in game 2. I don't know which one was worse. Obviously, score-wise, game 2, but heartbreak-wise, definitely the third and final game of the series. So let's dive into this box score, what we saw in this contest, and really just everything that went wrong. I'm going to have many screenshots from this game that really go from the 8th inning and on, breaking down what went wrong for Milwaukee and how they really could have just at least stolen one of these 3 games against the San Diego Padres. So we go to this box score right here. Again, a 4-3 loss, a game that went into the 11th inning, a game where the Brewers led in the 11th inning, and a game where the Brewers blew it in the 11th inning. Just nothing good about this one. It was a very, very good day for the pitchers. A huge shout out to Dustin May, who I'll get around to after we talk about this pretty putrid offense. Through 11 innings of work, the Brewers were only able to get 5 hits as a team. They also struggled in the field in a little bit with 1 error, but there were some very good plays made, so a little 2 sides to view that there. But yeah, the hitting just continues to be very atrocious. 5 hits in 11 innings of baseball. At least it resulted in 3 runs, but 3 runs usually isn't enough to beat a playoff level team in the San Diego Padres. And why wasn't it enough? Well, let's take a look at the specifics. Let's go to the runners in scoring position and the runners left on base, both highlighted at the bottom right here. The Brewers, 2 for 15 with runners in scoring position. They were, I believe, 3 for 28 in this series against San Diego, and then leaving 13 runners left on base. That's not going to win you any games. They were pretty patient at the plate. They got some walks. They got guys on base, and they just could not drive them in. There's no clutch gene that this team has, at least as of recent, and it's a huge concern for Milwaukee when they will now be going to LA to face the Dodgers in a 4-game series. And I buckle up for that one. If the Brewers will continue playing like this, it's going to be very, very tough. But you know what? Jake Bauers is kind of talking about the Brewers are in a slump. They know it. The media knows it. Everyone knows it. He had some pretty passionate words about it. He's talking about the offensive struggles right now. He's saying they're all mental. He says, I think we need to chill the bleep out just a little bit. So pretty obvious what he's saying there. I think the chill out is kind of in the realm of, hey, there's 162 games in a year. You have the best record in the league. We are in a little bit of a rough stretch, but let's chill out. Let's not fully panic, but I think it's just hard to not panic when teams like the Cubs keep winning, when teams like now the Padres are starting to win more and more and look like a hot team in the National League, when you got the Los Angeles Dodgers, who will probably make it to the World Series as everyone expects. Hopefully that's not the case this year, but that's the team that you're facing next. So it's hard to chill out watching this, but that's what Jake Bauers, that's the mentality that he's going with. So with something that happened after this game, which we actually did see last year after a slump for the Brewers, is the Brewers held a team meeting for roughly 15 minutes after the loss in San Diego, and Pat Murphy spoke on the struggles in this series, and he says, all I know is on August 12th, we have the best record in baseball, and if you got the best record in baseball, you're still going to go through times like this. So a little more optimism as well from Pat Murphy's side of things, saying, hey, we literally still have the best record, not just in the division, not just in the NL, but in all of Major League Baseball. And that is true. They're just not playing like it. So we have seen these slumps before for the Milwaukee Brewers last season, to where meetings did happen. I do want to touch on that right here. This is an article, go back to May 14th last season, where it says the crew looks to regain confidence after a rough offensive stretch. This was posted from Adam McCalvey of MLB.com, who writes on the Milwaukee Brewers, just really talking about the Brewers went through an offensive slump last season, ended up being a team, had the most wins in a regular season in franchise history, made the NLCS, so kind of showing. But I think the difference there is that Brewers team struggled to start the season. That Brewers team was like 20-22, because that stretch was after, I believe, the 42nd game of the season. So this is a little different because you're late in the season when you really got to pick it up, when other teams are picking it up around you. So I know maybe the meeting could show some positive signs, but if you take a look at when the Brewers had this meeting last season, you bring it up right here. They lost 5-0 and 2-0 to the Cleveland Guardians. Then they had a little bit of that meeting and bounced back right away. A 9-run performance, getting a 9-5 win. But then you jump to the next series and they lost 3-0 and 7-0. They had 4 out of 5 games where they did not score a single run, but then after that picked it up against the Baltimore Orioles. The only difference here, you are playing a little more 500 competition last season in these teams with the Cleveland Guardians, the Minnesota Twins, the Baltimore Orioles. This now, you're on the road in back-to-back series. You're playing against NL opponents, and you're playing against teams that are going to be in the playoff race, or that literally are in the playoff race, in the San Diego Padres and Los Angeles Dodgers. So I think it's a little bit easier to bounce back against what that Twins team was last year, against what that Orioles team was last year, because they're trying to bounce back against the Los Angeles Dodgers team that, even with struggles of their own, are still very, very threatening, because that's a team that can hit the ball in the air and score a lot of runs. So maybe you can have the optimism saying, hey, this team meeting might get the Brewers a win today. It's what they needed. So that's the one comparison you can give to a team meeting happening. It gave the Brewers one win, and then they went right back to their slumping ways the next two games to follow. So a little bit of a side note there, but I'm going to talk about the pitching. You know what? This pitching unit for the Milwaukee Brewers has just been so dominant, and it's unfortunate because the way that you can word this is just wasting it. You wasted great pitching performances. You take a look at it right here, and Dustin May got the start in this one. He was able to go 7 innings, only gave up 1 earned run, struck out 6 batters. It's just what a game for him. Only 4 hits allowed, only walked 2. The 1 run was a homer from Xander Bogaerts, but 7 innings of work, and you only give up 1 run, and you're not even credited with the win. Luckily, he wasn't credited with a loss. Not that that mattered, because the Brewers lost as a whole, but Dustin May, it's nice to see that he pitched well. Chad Patrick continues to pitch pretty solid. Aaron Ashby pitched all right. He had a little bit of a hiccup of a play, which I'll touch on in a second. Trevor McGill, I mean, you got to applaud that man. In 1 2/3 innings, because Abner Uribe was not going to pitch in this game, he went extra time, and then unfortunately, Antonio Senzatella was the one to blow this game. But should this game really have gone to 11 innings for someone to blow it? No. Did someone blow it? Yes. So you do unfortunately have to knack Senzatella for this one. Only pitched 2/3 innings and gave up 1 earned run, but 2 of them because you have that runner that starts on second base. So in the 11th inning, that was the final blow for the Milwaukee Brewers. But again, I want to tip the cap to Dustin May. That's his final stat line that the Brewers put up with that graphic. He cannot complain at all. I mean, you could say, oh, he gave up a run. I don't care. That is unbelievable work from a guy that's supposed to be the 4th best pitcher in this rotation, what he got brought in to be. These are playoff level pitchers. It's just not a playoff level offense. And it is unfortunate that Senzatella had to come in. He's a guy that's kind of getting a lot of usage because Uribe has gotten a lot of usage. Kurt Hogg posted saying Uribe threw 55 pitches over the weekend. He was down Monday and reported some soreness still on Tuesday, so the Brewers opted to give him the whole series off. I think a lot of people were questioning, why is Uribe not in there? Why did McGill have to go almost 2 innings? Luckily, it worked in McGill's favor, but it did not in the end game. So I want to really look at, just the pitchers. You can applaud them, but we have to talk about the little mistakes, the mental errors, the little knick-knack things that lost the Brewers this game. We're going to go picture by picture with this one like the old days. I'm going to throw it all up on the big screen right here to take a look at it. We're going to start off with a play that happened at first base when Aaron Ashby was in the game. A 2-1 lead, 2 outs, full count to Jake Cronenworth, and he hits a ball to the right side in play. Aaron Ashby gets a slight delay stepping off that mound, and he tries to run to first base to have a play to get the final out, and it is just not able to happen. A very tough play anyway. I mean, Jake Cronenworth gets the advantage batting in the left-handed batter's box, and he has a pretty quick first step, a rather quick runner, not super speed, but he's not a slow guy, so he's quick down the line. I will give it that. Tough for Aaron Ashby to catch up, but just a little bit of a slight delay, and that's all that resulted in the Padres to tie this one up 2-2 in what could have been 2-1 after the 8th inning. Bowers also spoke on this saying, if he saw how far Ashby was from first and he really looked towards home, he would have just threw it home. So kind of a error, you could say, quote unquote error on both ends. I don't know for you guys watching if you thought this was the right move. I mean, it's a grounder to the first base side. Ashby was trying to run to first, but you're not going to outrun Cronenworth, especially when Cronenworth gets a lead because he's in the left-handed batter's box and because he got a quicker jump than Ashby's initial half second to second delay. That is an unfortunate way that the game got tied up at 2-2. But then you have to, applaud it for the defense, because you go to this 9th inning and this was a hit from Bowen that seemed like it might have ended the game in walk-off fashion in regulation in the bottom of the 9th inning. Garrett Mitchell able to lay out with a diving catch and send this one to extras. That was nice to see him do that there. But then we get to the extra innings. We get to the top of the 10th, and you start with the runner on second base and no outs. Bryce Terang tries to steal third base and gets absolutely gunned down. Adrian Morejon seemed to purposely throw it above the zone so the catcher could catch it and fire it down to third. It seems like they knew he was going to steal third. They had him in plenty of time. I mean, kind of a close play, but in terms of stealing a base, I say they had Turang plenty of time. So you already put yourself in a divot there. You get one out before you even get through the first batter, and then you start the top of the 10th with no one on base. You don't put yourself in any good opportunity. Very shocked about this. This Brewers team does not hit the ball in the air for sacrifices much at all. They don't hit the ball in the air in general much at all. And you're stealing arguably one of your fastest players on the team that could probably go from second to home if you get a single. Like, that's it. So I'm very, very shocked that they did this. Lara, I don't blame him for not swinging at it if it was supposed to be a hit and run, because that pitch was like above his head. That's how high out of the zone they threw it. So put themselves in a divot. But you know what? The Brewers, fight back a little bit. They close it in the bottom of the 10th inning. You go to the top of the 11th. The Brewers have now taken a 3-2 lead thanks to a double from Gary Sanchez, and they're still in a pretty good position to add on to this 3-2 lead. Second and third, one out, Joey Ortiz up. He strikes out. You don't get anything going there. And you're like, you know what? Fine. Still have runners in scoring position. We still have this inning continuing. Now you actually have bases loaded after a walk, and you have Bryce Turang up, bases loaded. I know there's 2 outs, but man, you just get something in play. You got Garrett Mitchell on second. That'll at least make it 5-2 if it's a single. But no, yet another strikeout. And this is Adrian Morejon pitching, who went 35 pitches, a guy that usually only pitches 1 inning. He was up to 35 and still carved up the Brewers enough to only give up 1 run in what could have easily been a total of 5 runs for the Brewers after the top of the 11th for a 5-2 lead. It only sat at 3-2, and that was enough to get the Padres to be able to put a spark together in the bottom of the 11th inning. Have to give credit, though, in the bottom of this 11th inning, Luis Lara making an unbelievable grab. Jackson Merrill laced a ball to deep right field. It seems like this could have been the final blow. Brewers with a 3-2 lead, runners on the corners. Luis Lara made this amazing catch, so the runners were only able to tag. That tied the game at 3-3, but then the Brewers ended up getting walked off, and honestly, it was a ball hit to right field to Luis Lara, who picked it up pretty quick, had a solid throw home. It was a little bit high. Gary Sanchez took a little bit to put the tag down on the runner at home because he had to jump up a little bit, but it should have never gotten to that point. If people want to point at Lara saying, could have had a better throw, this game could have gone into a 12th inning, it should have never gotten to that point. The Brewers should have had a bigger lead than this. Lara saved a run right there, and you only score 3 runs in 11 innings of work. That's just not going to win you a baseball game, and that's what we saw in this contest against the San Diego Padres. So lots to break down with that. It's just, I want to put it in the past. I want to put that whole series in the past. Hopefully we can look back at it and just throw it away. But these San Diego Padres, I said it in the video before, always have the Brewers number. That Brewers seem to play so bad when they go to San Diego. I don't know what it is, but playoff-wise, more likely than not, San Diego will be a wild card team, and the Brewers could be one of the top 3 seeds if they're able to hold on to that. If they get overtaken in the division, though, this could be a possible wild card matchup, and very well could be the Padres could jump the Brewers. I mean, it's only mid-August. There's still a good amount of time for these standings to shift around a little bit. Not trying to dink the Brewers. It's more a credit to the Padres because they've been playing absolute hot baseball. I want to find a way to avoid this team at all costs, and the way the Brewers can do that is to lock it in tonight when they face the Los Angeles Dodgers. Maybe take 2 games from the series. I don't know if that sounds even greedy. It's a 4-game series, so taking 2 games would just be going 500, and I think that literally sounds a little bit greedy. I'd be satisfied with 1 with how this team has been playing baseball, but with how the other teams are winning, including the Chicago Cubs, who are handling the Nats very easily. Alex Bregman had like 3 homers of his own. The Brewers need to at least go 500 in this series, but what we saw against San Diego, it feels very unrealistic. But hey, they had the team meeting. Maybe that's all they need. They, get on a plane, fly again, play an even later game than what they've been playing in San Diego. That game's at 9:10 Central Time, which is crazy. So if you're on the East Coast too, that's 10:10 if you're up watching that one. Lots of late baseball for the Milwaukee Brewers on this West Coast road trip. We look at the pitching matchup for this game, and maybe there's a chance. I mean, you look numbers wise, the Brewers should have the advantage, but if you look in the recent trends, Shane Drowan has not played great baseball over his past couple of outings. So that 3.87, he's not playing up to it. His last outing, very, very rough against the Minnesota Twins. That's a game that the Brewers ended up losing 8-6. So this is one of the better chances the Brewers have in this series. It then will be Robert Gasser to follow him. Then the rotation flips over. You'll have Mizorowski who will go against Warbleski, and then Logan Henderson who will go against Skubal. So again, if the Brewers are able to get 2 wins out of this series, I think I'd be pretty satisfied. It's just the reality of it. The Brewers are struggling. They're on the road, and they have their bottom 2 pitchers before it flips to the top of the order. So it's just such a big, I don't know, especially with how this offense has been playing. If they get a win, it feels like the score is going to be like 3-2. 2, and is that realistic for the Dodgers offense to only score 2 runs? Probably not, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is just a funk of a series and the Brewers get it out of their system, but the offense has just been very concerning in general. We touched on it the previous video. Even the series against like the Angels and the Pirates and the Twins, the Brewers just weren't scoring many runs even in the games that they won. Hoping the offense is able to figure it out, but I feel like I say that at the end of every single episode over the past couple of days, so I'm just going to leave it to the team, leave it to that, behind closed doors meeting, hoping they figured things out. It'll be interesting to see how the lineup is built tonight. Maybe things get moved around again, or maybe they're getting moved around too much, and that's why the offense can't find their groove. But I appreciate you tuning in for yet another episode of Brewers Digest. Feel free to leave in the comments down below any of your thoughts. I'll make sure to read them. I read the ones on the last video. I know not many of you are happy, so these could be even a little bit more extreme, but feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I hope the next time I talk to you, we are talking about a win, because this is some very ugly baseball. I hope if I'm staying up past midnight to watch this, it is because the Brewers are turning an L into a W, but we'll just have to wait and see. Rooting for the Brew Crew, hoping they're able to put it together against the Los Angeles Dodgers.